Welcome to the Lighthounds Podcast, where we chew the cud with houndsmen from all across the world. We are brought to you by High Point Pet Food out of Shawnee, Oklahoma. CH Lone Star Promo for all your promotional needs. Red River Hunting Supply off Highway 82 in Whitesboro, Texas. And the best in dog protection, Southern Cross Cut Gear. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Lighthounds. We have got two special guests on tonight. I had messaged Cecilia Steele out of West Texas today and was talking to her and was going to see if she'd like to record when she said, well, I'd love to, but I also have a friend over from Luxembourg and she's big into deer tracking and all kinds of dog work. So we got fortunate enough to get both of them on here tonight. And so we're just going to talk all kinds of things. Cecilia, will you introduce yourself and kind of tell us where you're from, and then we'll kind of move over to Marianne.
Sure. My name is Cecilia Steele. I live in Texas, kind of in the San Angelo area. I'm from Virginia originally, but I've been out here in Texas nearly 15 years.
Okay. And Marianne, where are you from?
I'm from Luxembourg, so the other side of the big pond.
You bet.
Always lived there, lived for a couple of years in Germany, and I moved back to Luxembourg. And yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll pick on you first, Cecilia. Tell me about your dogs and how long you've been doing I know you do a lot of blood tracking. That's how I know you. I've always heard if you're, in San Angelo, West Texas area, you're the person to call if we got a wounded deer down. So tell us about the deer dogs, and then maybe we'll venture off into the hog dogs you got too.
Sure. I started with hog dogs, but then I had a puppy that was his parents were hog dogs, but he was just naturally into tracking, and I went to a little tracking seminar put on by Courtney Ferris, and that's when I first learned about blood tracking. And I lived on a ranch at the time that was leased by a great group of bow hunters, and so we got a good crash course in tracking. We tracked a bunch of deer for them, and it helped train me and my dog because I was a total rookie back then. And there's a big learning curve in tracking, and it takes years to really have any idea of what you're doing, especially when you're starting out with a young dog. So
yep.
We've grown and developed, and that dog is 12 years old now, and he's semi-retired and mainly used for training puppies. And I've got another real good 5-year-old dog that's my main tracking dog at the moment.
Okay, and what are they?
They are Catahoulas.
Okay, and they're full blood?
My younger dog is a full-blooded registered dog off of cow dog bloodlines, originally from Louisiana, Mississippi area. My older dog is not full-blooded. He has he's 1/8 dogo. So he's a real big dog.
Yeah. What's that dog's name?
That is Turk.
Turk, okay. And the OG dog, what's his name?
Turk is the OG dog.
Okay.
Then Gubbins is the younger dog. That's a family name.
That's right. I know. I've heard those two names quite a bit. Following you. They're both super good looking dogs. You're pretty damn good at taking pictures too. But they're very sharp. I like their build. I like their head, and they're not little small pinheaded dogs at all.
No, they're both big. They both range between 75 pounds and 80 pounds, which is pretty big for tracking out here in the heat, as you know.
Oh yeah. So was that event that you went and saw Courtney at, was that the Texas Blood Trackers deal, or was that one of the Lacey deals?
That was the Texas Blood Trackers. Well, it was in conjunction, Texas Blood Trackers with their Lacey organization. Was
that down there in was it Brownwood, or was it out there in Hamilton?
No, neither. It was near Buchanan Dam. When I went, were having a little seminar, and they were offering testing for Texas Blood Trackers.
Right.
Courtney gave a seminar. So Kirk actually tested with Texas Blood Trackers when he was 1 year old.
Yeah. Do you remember what year that was? I'm just
That
curious.
was when Turk was born. That was 2014, the first
Okay.
time I went, and then he tested with them in 2015.
Okay. So me and you probably started right about the same time.
Yes,
Um, yeah, I had a Lacey at the bat and then another crossed up dog. And then I finally found my Huck dog that I've got now. But he is, he'll be 10 this summer. So
wow.
yeah, but they're all getting old.
I know it.
But anyways, so also you run hog dogs too. Is that, do you hit that pretty hard still?
Yes, mainly just on the ranch that I live on and take care of. We actually caught 3 today, so
Heck yeah.
yeah.
And are y'all running the Catahoulas to find and bay them? Or are you running the Dogo cross pit bulls just to catch them? How are you doing that?
I run the Catahoulas, plus I have one German short hair pointer that is a super versatile dog,
Yeah.
and also one of my best hog dogs. But I run her with my Catahoulas for finding and baying. And then I've got lead-in bulldogs that are a mix of American Bulldog and Dogo. That's from a line that my friend in East Texas started about 25 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, those are some sharp dogs. I like the looks of all the dogs you have. I've got like a thought in my brain about like the way I want dogs to look and like the size. They all have different jobs and different little knickknacks, but like I feel like for your country, you could probably get away with running a bigger catch dog, and I like those. I like the way those look and their size. They're probably closer to 80, 90 pounds or
They may look bigger in photographs.
yeah.
I run 2 females, so they're about 70 pounds probably.
Okay.
But I know that the males in the bloodline will be a little bigger.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Marianne, you mind kind of giving me a rundown of your kind of background and the dogs that you're running right now?
Sure. I was born into this, so I didn't really have a choice. My grandmother was crazy about dogs. We used to breed German short hair pointers for, I guess, 60 years. My great granddad breed German wire hair pointers Stratos for I have no idea how long. My mom is crazy about dogs too, so it runs in the family. I grew up with that, so I had all kinds of dogs, from tracking dogs to driven hunt dogs and bird dogs, a little bit of everything.
Wow. So what dog did you tell me about the professional deer tracking, or do y'all track deer and other animals or just deer?
Yeah, we have to track every animal. So
Okay.
the Luxembourgish hunting law and the German one, for example, are really strict about this. Whatever animal you wound, you have to track, and it doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't matter if it's a raccoon or if it's a deer or a hawk. So you have to track them all. Same counts for ducks, for example. But that's a legal obligation that everybody has. So tracking dogs are very common in Europe, and you have people that do it more professionally and less professionally. Although there's not too many that do it as a main profession. Mostly those are foresters and people that already work in the forest that do that a lot. And all of them are always hunters because you have to be a hunter in order to track.
Okay. And
things are quite different here from back home.
yeah, I was kind of listening to you talk on that podcast earlier, and the legalities and the stuff behind it is pretty wild. So, Joey, they have to if they cannot track the deer themselves, they have to use a tracking dog. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. If you do not do that, there's even a prison as a sanction of it. So it's not really like, okay, you did like a small thing and you have to pay like $50. No, you can go, like for example in Luxembourg, you can go up to 6 months in prison.
Yeah,
that's or whatever you call it here.
That's wild. I have a friend, and we do the Hide Terrier USA project, and so Arnie Polmeyer, we have some hides from him, and then we have several different lines of the Hide Terriers, and Josh has went over there and hunted with them, and he's told me so many different things about it, the legalities of it. It blew my mind. Like you said, if you wound something and you don't even you don't worry about it, you can go to jail.
Oh yeah, you will lose your hunting license.
Yes.
You will never get it back. Oh, there are so many things attached to that. Yeah. We take that shit very, very serious.
Mm-hmm. They should. I mean, if it was like that here, what do you think, Ricky? You think more people would be?
Oh my God, I'd have to have 10 employees underneath me if that was the case.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
That is pretty wild. So, and what do you do for your job? What's your main job?
I work for the government. I'm a forest engineer, so my main job is actually hunting. I'm in charge of hunting for the Luxembourg government, so I can talk about hunting every day, which is great.
So, is it like invasive species? Is it? Tell me about like what your day-to-day kind of deal is.
It is a lot of different things. So it's I have a cool staff, a great team of people that work for me. It is part policy making. It is part management plans. Looking after all the hunters, looking after all the day-to-day business of hunting, from up to down. So it's more desk work than field work, but I do get to get out sometime too, so that's great too. Yeah, it's pretty versatile. There's no standard day. It can be that we are all day, sitting next to the Minister of Environment and giving him good tips on how to proceed for the next steps. It can also be that we're the whole day on the phone talking to hunters. I do work a lot, and that's something that's really close to my heart, is in hunters education, our new future hunters. That's something I really like to, because you can really set them up for the right directions to go. Yeah, it's a cool job. I really like it.
That sounds awesome to me.
It does to me too, and I get paid for it.
Yeah,
you should tell the story about the cemetery, trying to get the deer out of the cemetery.
Well, sometimes we fail also. We have to. There was kind of like an American operation just a few weeks ago. We had there's the Luxembourgish American military cemetery where General Patton is buried. So that's from the Second World War. And there's, I think, about 6,000 service members that are buried there. And there's a lot of deer on the site, but there's a big fence around. And we tried to get the deer out of there. So the first idea was to push them out of there, because the people didn't want any further deaths on there, and so on and so on. We had like so many people there. Well, the deer did not cooperate too well. So at one point we had to use the dogs, and we caught a few of them. So now there's way less deer there. So that went well. The dogs did their job.
They got to do their job, and hopefully nobody got to see that part of it. Or?
No, we were super early on to do that.
Yeah.
That was the reason, because they couldn't close the cemetery.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
no,
funny.
that would have been bad. No.
So tell me about the dogs that you use.
So right now, different dogs that I had in the past. So right now, I still use Catahoulas. I love them. They're great dogs. We use them for driven hunts, but we also use them for blood tracking and den hunting. They're great on fox and badger, but equally great on wild boar, because they have, no sense of self-preservation and no sense of their size. So they're really good for that. And when it comes to tracking, they're great because the nose is already on the ground.
All right.
I use Dratas. I have a small Patterdale Terrier. That is the most insane dog I've ever owned. But she's amazing. She weighs nothing. She has the size of a guinea pig. But I can throw her like a hand grenade onto pigs, and that's amazing. She does whatever the big dogs cannot do. I've never seen a dog like that. I'm trying not to get too attached to her, because I'm scared she won't live very long. But so far she's 5, and she's still alive. It's a miracle. That's pretty good. I know, and she's insane. And used to have a Hanover Hound. A pretty cool dog, and in the past I had German Shorthairs mostly. Yeah, a little bit of everything.
So the hound you use for blood tracking specifically?
The Hanover Hound is a breed that we only use for blood tracking, so they have no other purpose than that, just as the Bavarian.
You're starting to see a lot of that over here in the U.S. That seems like that breed. I'm curious to see how it's going to end up in the next 10 years.
Well, to me, it's a really interesting breed. It has been bred for ages, just for blood tracking purposes. So, of course, it's really good at that. But I would not say that it's better than any other breed.
Okay. I'm curious to see, because I feel like anywhere over there overseas, y'all are very your breeding is very restrictive. The everything is so much more tight knit and very specific, as opposed to over here where somebody will grab a Hanoverian hound and breed it to a dogo and try to make a catch talk, or just it just seems like it's very off the charts over here. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is very correct. Everything back home, we love rules. We follow rules. We really love them. No, that is absolutely right. So the breeds, you will find some crossbreeds, but that's more rare. Most people, they have their purebreds, they stick to a breed, or there's not much trying out. So but you also have to see that German, especially German breeds, but also French breeds, they are very old, so they're very proven bloodlines. There's no really the need to change something. Whereas your country is younger, but also your dog breeds are younger. So it makes so much more sense to kind of try out and figure out. And then everything is so big here. You have so many other breeds that we have and such interesting breeds. So it does make sense to try out a little bit, whereas that doesn't really make sense for us because everything is so well established that there's absolutely no need for that anymore.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. I didn't even thought about it like that. So on like a given year, how many animals do you go and track?
It is different. The last year it used to be way over 100, closer to what we actually track is always more. That would be like 150, 170-ish per year. Now it's less for me because, well, mostly job situations and stuff like that. But yeah, it can be, for some trackers, it's really a lot. They go up to the 200s. But you have to imagine there's also many, many people that own hunting dogs, and most of them track for themselves. So those 150 tracks are usually hard tracks. Those are not easy recoveries because all the easy stuff you do with your own versatile dog before calling in a tracker.
I gotcha. So you're usually coming in and batting cleanup crew. You're having to clean up somebody else's mess.
Yeah, that's what I did over the past year so long. Yeah, you do that.
Yeah, I'm sure Cecilia has the same issues I do. We'll end up following a lab or somebody's GSP or something. But it's not right, and it's not for me. It's not super common, or at least they don't tell me. I think it happens probably more often than I know because they won't tell us. But I'm sure for you over there, if everybody has some sort of versatile dog, they're going to try that first before they call you.
Yeah, and that is okay. That's what they are supposed to do, because you have to track every animal, and just imagine there would be just a few people that do this on a very high level that you can call in for any shots, back shots, muzzle shots, whatever shots. And they would have to go and track also the easy things. That would never be enough dogs on the ground to recover all the animals. So It is actually what we support, and what we really want is that people have their own versatile dogs and that they do everything that they can. And once they no longer do it, they call somebody in. But they have such great discipline about that because that is such a long-standing tradition to do so, that it really usually doesn't mess things up. It's the driven hunts that are more complicated for us, but usually never that hunters mess something up. Whereas whenever I tracked here with Cecilia, I could really see that hunters messed a little bit up when they were just like, everybody was on loose and running around like crazy just to recover the animals for themselves.
Yeah. I know we down over here have to deal with it's more foot traffic and everybody and their buddy, and then or they'll be on four-wheelers and UTVs riding around circles and now we got thermals and all that stuff, and it's keeping people in the woods longer and making it harder on us. But I mean, it is what it is. I don't get mad too often with people are trying to find their deer. Now, if they try to find it with 10 guys, try 2 dogs, and then call me 24 hours later, I'm a little bit annoyed because it's like you really set me up for failure here. Like, and I'm hard-headed enough that I'm going to come try it, even though the odds are probably not in my favor. But I can.
Yeah.
It's you never know. I mean, but I also have guys that they pull the trigger, and if they didn't see it fall, they're calling me. So it goes from one end of the spectrum to the other.
Yes, it really does.
I'm sure you get the same kind of thing, especially. Do you track on quite a bit of high fences, Cecilia?
I do. I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm definitely on call on as a regular tracker on some of the high fences, which is great because then they call me immediately, like you said.
They'll keep those hunters at bay a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, and then and of course, I'm sure, just like anywhere else, you draw blood, you own that animal, so
exactly.
They're gonna, if it's a $500 animal or a $50,000 animal, they're gonna pay another however much to get you out there to track.
Right. Yeah. They want to use every resource they can to recover that animal.
Right. And do you charge to track where you're at?
Yeah, I started just asking for a fuel and a tip, so I've kind of maintained that, and it's worked out well for me.
Yeah. And that's the opposite for you, right, Marianne?
Yeah, so we usually don't charge, and if so, it would be like $20 or something for the trip. But then again, we don't have these large distances to go to the next track. It's usually within like the next 20, 30 minutes because there's so many people around. So there's no need to charge for gas.
Whereas
so you've got a pretty tight area.
A track within an hour.
Oh yeah,
very
same.
rare.
Yeah, if it's inside an hour, I'm freaking excited.
Right. Yeah, that would never happen for me. Like driving in a different country. No, yeah, it would be in a different country. Maybe two. I don't know.
Maybe two countries.
Lord, I couldn't even run White Boy Rick over there.
No, he'd be in the next country.
As you change the language, you're in a different country.
I've got one old dog that just, when you turn him loose, he's supposed to be a hog dog. Sometimes he finds hogs, sometimes he don't. But he goes and he just hunts.
Go yonder dog.
way go yonder. We had a race day before yesterday morning. It's his first trip out this season, and it was 9.28 miles. That was after he got it jumped. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
What kind of dog is it?
A running walker, foxhound.
Okay.
American foxhound.
Cool.
I don't typically run any hounds. I started out with all terriers, York terriers, Airedales, Patterdales, and then I started with the hide terriers, and then somewhere along the line I got into all the cur dogs, and now I got to run a walker. I don't know what I'm doing.
That's cool to test them all out, though.
Yeah, I've still got my terriers. It's hard to go wrong with a good terrier.
That's right.
That's funny. So tell me about like y'all's season over there where you're at, Marianne. Like, can you hunt year round? How's that work?
It depends on the species. So different species, like all the invasive species, what we call invasive alien species like raccoon, nutria, etc., we can hunt all year round. And then wild boar too, because they cause so much damage, and we have the African swine fever really close by. So you always need to be careful of that, and the populations of wild boar are really high. So these you can hunt all year round. Then for all the other species, the deer species, roe deer, red deer, fallow deer, etc., mouflons, and so on, you have different seasons. And then also different seasons for driven hunts and different seasons for stalking or shooting them out of a deer stand.
I gotcha. Okay. So how long is your typical deer season?
It depends again on the deer. The longest deer season is for roe deer, for the male roe deer. It starts now in Luxembourg, for example, on the 1st of April, and it lasts until the 31st of January. So it is a pretty long season.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was about to say, if you were like us and you only had 3 months to track, I didn't figure you'd be over here.
Yeah.
I know Cecilia is not going to be anywhere come October 1st.
Right, exactly.
That's right. The driven hunt season is usually the busiest season because that's when most of the animals are killed. That usually lasts from mid-October till end of January. That is really a very, very busy season also for tracking, but also for all the dog work, because then you have all the dogs out for driven hunts. All the rest of the year, it's the same. You have like the the rut of the roe deer and of the red deer, where it gets a little bit busier, but all the rest is more or less the same.
Gotcha. So since you're talking about driven hunts, I gotta hear about it. I don't know anything about it. So do you have dogs that drive the deer, or guys walking and driving the deer? How's all that work?
Well, both. So classical driven hunt, you do it mostly in the forest. We also have driven hunts on pheasants and stuff like that, but let's stay with the deer and the wild boar.
Yeah.
It's usually done in the forest. You have hunters placed on usually more or less strategic spots in the forest, usually where deer already passes, where you have known trails of them. And you put them there on stands or on the ground, whatever. And then you have people with dogs, so dog handlers, but also people without dogs. And then sometimes the hunters just let the dogs loose from the stand. And the goal is to move the deer. It's not to kind of chase the deer. You don't want it to run super fast because you cannot shoot properly at them. The goal is just to move them around so that you can shoot a large amount of animals in a short time so that you can reduce the populations. That's more or less the goal. It is practice a little bit different depending on where you are. If you have lots of traffic, lots of roads in between, that is a very big issue for us, that we have lots of dogs killed on the roads. So of course you're not going to hunt with hounds if you have lots of roads and highways and stuff like that. It really depends on the species you're targeting and the region. You're not going to use lots of tackles in the mountains. That would be very stupid. But if you have, like, for example, open forest with lots of red deer, you would love to have tackles and terriers, for example, in there.
That makes perfect sense. So given what's an average drive? Is there going to be 10, 20 guys with guns at the end of the trail? And how many dogs are you turning out? What's that? Is it just kind of dependent on where you're at?
Yeah.
And
Exactly. It depends on the size of the hunting ground you're hunting. It depends a bit on the species you're targeting. It depends a lot on the landscape. And if you have lots of brushes, what we have right now is because of the climate change and everything, we have lots of dead or dying trees. So they fall over and they overgrow. So if you have that, that's of course perfect habitat for the wild boar, and it's really hard to get them out of there. Then you would want to have more dogs and more people in there. It can be anything up from, I would say, like 10 hunters and 10 people with a few dogs up to 100 hunters. There's nothing in between. We as government do hunts too. We usually have around 50 to 60, sometimes up to 70 hunters, and nearly an equal amount of people on dog handlers.
Wow, that's a hell of an operation.
It is. But we are so used, so you have that basically every day, not every day of the week. It can be every day of the week, but mostly on weekends. And people just turn around. So today I'm with my friend here, next week I'm with my friend there, and then the week after everybody's at my place for the hunting. So during that hunting season, the driven hunt season, people, they don't get to see their houses anymore.
So on the tracking part up there, are y'all allowed to run off of leash, or do y'all have to use a leash?
Well, it depends on the country. Some countries like Luxembourg, there's no regulation on it, but people usually out of tradition run the dogs on leash until they jump the deer, and then you let them off leash. But because of all the roads and the highways, imagine it's a small country, but with lots of people in there, so you have lots of roads and traffic. You don't want to run them off leash all the time. So that is usually the tradition throughout whole Europe, that you run them always on leash and just let them loose once you've jumped the deer.
So will a tackle run down a deer like a wounded deer that's got a broke leg or something?
You'd be surprised. Well, mainly I think it's because the deer do not take the tackle serious. I have no idea why, but tackles are really good at baying wild boar, but also deer, and they might even catch the roe deer. I have no idea how they do that.
I would stop and fight a little dog before I'd stop and fight one of Cecilia's dogs. I mean, that makes sense to me.
Honestly, that's what I think is happening, because I have made the experience that it was way easier and faster for me to bay deer and wild boar with the tackle than with the trotter. Way easier.
The less
and
pressure.
I think that's mostly the reason. I guess they think, like, what is the fucking weasel doing behind me? I don't know.
It's not going to hurt me.
Yeah, they don't take them serious, which is great to me.
I like that. That makes sense to me. Like, I'm real big on, like, I only like to track with one dog at a time. I feel like two dogs is too much pressure. We usually end up a lot of broken bays like that. Now, of course, you got to train your puppies and run them with the older dogs here and there. But like, if I am in tight corridors or don't have a lot of land to work with, it's a big deer. Of course, it makes things more. These guys freak out over here with these big whitetail, and there's a lot of weight on you to get the job done. And if that's the case, I'm running one dog and I am on top of him. Now, obviously, he's off leash and he's doing his thing, but I'm staying pretty tight to him because I'm trying to get that follow up shot immediately as fast as possible because a broken bag could lead you onto the highway or the next property.
Yeah.
And as you know, over here we don't have the right to retrieve animals on neighbors' properties without making calls and stuff first. So to me, it's in my experience, one dog seems to be a whole lot less pressure. Depending on the dog you got, hell, you might have a dog that wants to catch. That's a different story. But if one loose bay dog to me seems to be the best result.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I've had, I had a dog that I got from a fellow that we know down in Central Texas, and when I started running him with Huck when he was probably 1 year old, and that dog did not give a rat's ass about trailing, but by God, if that sucker was alive, he was going to catch it. And it was like disaster every time. And I'm like,
right.
every Huck would go out there and have this thing bayed in his first bed, and we'd be easing in for the finish shot, and that dog would come out of nowhere and just break the bay, push him another half mile, and then they'd both be caught when I got there because Huck's not going to let anybody else one up him. And it was always just a damn disaster. I don't have a dog anymore.
Tougher on the dogs and tougher on the deer, and it just can end badly.
Makes for some wrecks for sure.
Right.
Have you had very many like bad injuries with the dog, Cecilia, on the deer?
Knock on wood, no, not with deer. But like you said, I prefer running one dog or very loose. I prefer a looser bearing dog, and then I'm dispatching the deer versus the dogs catching the deer. I would rather a loose bay and I dispatch.
Yeah,
I have more wrecks with the hog dogs, as can be expected, I think. But a lot of people have issues. Injuries, reindeer too.
Right. Oh yeah. No, I guess I feel like I've been fortunate that we haven't been wrecked out more than we have. That first couple of years running two dogs, that I learned pretty quick that was not the route I wanted to go because it was always, we never got hurt real bad that first time, but it was just like, man, one time I got there and they had this deer stretched out or whatever, and you can't even hardly get a follow-up shot on the deer. And then we get done, and Huck he had a stripe of skin between his eyes where he caught like a brow tine or something. Like it looked like a mohawk, but it was just hairless through the middle of his face. And I'm like, God almighty, like you're just asking for freaking disaster.
Right.
So Marianne, do y'all carry a weapon to dispatch? How does that work? Does the hunter have to do it? Do you get to do it?
I never let the hunter do it. I always do it myself, and most trackers
100%.
do. But then again, all the trackers are hunters. We usually carry a rifle or a knife. Depends. If the dog catches, then of course you're no longer shooting it. You will dispatch it with a knife. It really depends on the situation. But yeah, you always have. Well, I got a little bit arrogant over the years. So whenever I was tracking roe deer, I would never use a gun. I would just leave it in the car. I had some situations where I regretted that choice. But yeah, that is definitely a problem that I had over the years. But usually the draw task, they will catch any roe deer in the world. So I did not need to worry about that part, and I could just save those few kilograms on my back. But yeah, I would never let a hunter shoot my dog. I had a very good friend of mine who's a tracker. He had a dog that got shot by a hunter. Unfortunately, it didn't kill it, but it lost an eye. There was a situation like that, and that really made it clear to me, like, I would never, even if I know the people and I trust them, if somebody's going to shoot my dog, it will be me.
Yes. Yeah. I 100% agree. There's way too much excitement and stuff going on that I have let it happen one time, and it was because I didn't have a choice. We had tracked a deer from private property into like it's a state park, which is like a national refuge where you cannot hunt and you're not allowed to carry a gun at all. Um, and I had a game warden tag along with me, and God Almighty, it was a disaster. The deer kept breaking bay, and the poor game warden, he was a little heavy in the britches and couldn't keep up. And we finally, I think it was the third or fourth bay, I was like, man, you're gonna have to let me have this gun. Like, I've got to get this over with. We're gonna end up in the park with a bunch of people, and like there's tent camping and campers and all that stuff. I was like, we got to get this done. He's like, I just can't let you do that. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to get your ass in gear because we're not going to, we got to get up here. Like he just couldn't keep up. Well, finally he got there, and we had him bait up in a kind of like a edge of a pond. And I told him, I said, listen, I said, whatever you do not shoot my dog. I don't give a shit if this deer leaves the country. We never see him again. I said, do not shoot until I tell you to shoot. And I was like, I'm serious. Like I looked him dead in the eyes. Like he saw my face. Like he knew how serious I was. But I was like, when I say to shoot, you shoot. And of course he did, and it all worked out. But that was the one and only damn time I ever let that happen.
Right. Yeah. Your dog is worth more than any deer.
Oh God. I used to be pretty gung ho on, trying, to recover these deer at all costs. And now I'm just like, I don't care if that deer makes it to the next county and we don't catch it or not. We tried our best, and it is what it is, but it's not worth the dog getting killed.
Right.
Oh man. So Cecilia, I was going to talk to you about your sitting conditions over there where you're at, and kind of like, what do you prefer? So basically, what's your average humidity and stuff whenever you're tracking over there? Do you keep up with that?
I do keep up with it. And,
yeah.
We're real dry out here where I am, West Texas, West Central Texas, and normal day during the fall, during deer season, the humidity can plummet down into the teens during the day.
Yeah.
And, it's about the worst tracking conditions you could ask for. So oftentimes I will wait until the evening to track. I track a lot at night, especially if it's still hot. And just at night when the humidity is up higher and the scent conditions are better, it's just a 90-day difference for the dog. It helps the dog track better and faster, and we can get our job done more quickly, more efficiently than trying to track in the heat of the day, in the bright sunshine.
That was one of the things that took me a long time to learn. Like, who knows how many times the first few years I set my dog up for failure, and didn't know any different. I just thought,
and it's hard because the hunters don't understand, and they pressure you to come sooner rather than later, whereas sometimes later is better than sooner.
Oh, more often times than not, it is, in my opinion. If you've got a dog that can take a track that's, I don't have like a super cold nosed dog by any stretch, but a 12-hour-old track at 70% humidity is going to be a whole hell of a lot better than a 3-hour-old track at 10% humidity.
Right.
Sometimes. And
I know we have to deal with younger trackers trying to come in and come and track whenever. So we have to deal a little bit with that, but it comes to a point where you just have to tell the hunter, sorry, I can come at dusk when the weather is better and the conditions are better. And that's the offer we can give you.
Yeah. And I'm sure you take enough tracks to where you know it's not going to hurt your feelings if you miss one because the hunter can't wait.
Right, exactly. But you know, a lot of hunters learn, and then they don't understand initially the difference
No.
until they see it, and they see the difference between the dog tracking. Oftentimes, if I end up in a track late morning, early afternoon, and we can't advance it, I'll just turn to the hunter and say, okay, we've got to take a break.
Hmm.
We'll go back to camp, hang out, have dinner or whatever, come back at dusk. And then we'll come back, and it sounds crazy to them, but then we come back at dusk, and then the dog is able to pick up the track, and we can finish it and recover the animal. So when the hunters get to see that, then they can understand, you know, what is happening and how it's different for the dogs depending on the time of day and the humidity and the scent conditions. So a lot of it they don't know, and have to give them a chance to learn.
Yeah. This is kind of off the topic, but we we went to a ranch there a couple days ago to go hog dogging, and we turned loose at this creek with the guy that runs the ranch, and he hadn't. I take it he'd never run dogs before. If he had, he didn't pay a whole lot of attention. But I mean, the dogs weren't on the ground 5 minutes, and we had a pig bait at like 300, 400 yards pops.
Nice.
And the guy was like, "Damn, that took long enough. I figured it would happen quicker than that."
Oh.
And I looked at him and I was like, "Do you know what just happened? Like, do you realize how big of a blessing this just was? Like, we just turned dogs loose. They didn't so much as drain out, and had a pig bait at 300 yards, like within walking distance of here. Are you?" Are you high right now? Like, I just, it was just so funny. He was just like, "What? I didn't figured it would be quicker and wouldn't be so far of a run." I'm like,
you don't need to go with me.
oh God. I was like, you're in for a treat today, God Almighty. You know. And the funny part is we drove to him, which is we could have walked, but I had my kiddos with me, and so we drove around to him, and sure enough, we got to 100 yards, and that pig broke, and it never stopped. It ran a figure eight or two on us, and it was like he knew the deal. After I don't know if he heard us. That guy was driving a big loud Dodge pickup and come hauling ass up there, and boy. That was it. We never saw that pig again after that. But it was just, it blew my mind when he had said that. I was like, you truly have no idea what you're talking about.
Right.
But I feel like it's really common with the deer tracking deal, because folks just have they shoot, they see blood, and then they take off, you know, and it's like they don't know what kind of blood they're looking at. They don't know deer reaction. They don't know anything. It's just, by God, there's blood on the ground, and it's great blood. We got to go. It's great blood, you know.
Right. It's lung blood.
Always, yeah, it's bright red lung blood.
With bubbles.
Yeah, with bubbles. But there's also bone on the ground. But you know, don't pay
a lot
attention
of
to
white
that.
hair, yeah.
Oh Lord. So, Marianne, I was curious. You were talking about. You mentioned they're a hunter. They're a hunter. What are you saying when you say that? Because over here, everybody's a hunter.
Oh, no, not back home. Hunting, to be a hunter, it depends a little bit again on the country, how long it takes. But for example, Luxembourg, my country, it takes nearly a year, a little bit over sometimes, to get your hunting license. So you start doing kind of like an internship where you have to be with somebody that hunts for quite some time, and you have to fill out like a diary where you have to put in like all your hunting logs, and you have to prove that you have seen all this and that you have got a deer, that you have been to driven hunts, that you have been to all of the things. And there's a whole exam committee that is going to read through that diary and says like, okay, you're ready to take the classes and take the exams. And only after they give you the go, you can go take the classes. That will last about from September to February. Other classes, they will be in the evenings, usually Tuesdays, Thursdays, and the weekends. You go to these classes, and then you take a written exam, you take an oral exam, you take a practical exam, and then you start with all the shooting lessons, where you have to shoot 4 different disciplines, so to say. So 100 meters standing, 100 meters sitting, 50 meters on a running wild boar, and clay pigeons, and a security test. And only then you can call yourself a hunter. So it does take a little bit.
That would be amazing here. Lord, I wish we could have that. I do.
Well, you have way more people than we do, but it's more or less the same throughout the whole of Europe. Some countries it's a little less, some countries it's even more. So it really depends, but I think it's a good idea. You have a way more liberal approach to owning guns. That would not work in Europe. People would freak out.
Yes, ma'am.
So they really want you to have a certain kind of knowledge before you're running around with a gun. And I think knowing that hunters have this, I would say, long time that they have to study things and having to take all the exams, that makes people in general more comfortable with hunters and people having guns, owning guns, and then killing animals, because that's what we do at the end of the day is kill animals. Well, for management reasons or for food, but whatever. People are already, I don't know about the States, but back home, killing animals is a very sensitive topic. Everybody likes to eat meat, but knowing how it ended up on your table is a different story. I feel way more comfortable knowing that there is a big education behind of what people do.
And I think that's where we lack a lot of things, as far as it being a publicized information about the education that you do have, because we do have to have hunters education programs here. We do have those. And, as usually as a 10 to 13, 14-year-old person or child, you'll take that course.
I've taken it too.
You know what I'm saying? I had to retake it when I was 35. I think I was 35 years old and had to take it again because they couldn't find me. I was so old. But anyway, one thing I wanted to ask, and you probably just answered it for the most part, was how many fatal accidents do you guys have by hunters in your country annually?
I can not recall the last fatal accident. There was one. Wait. There's one that I recall, but it could have been a suicide. Nobody knows at the end of the day. But that's over 10 years ago.
Wow. See, I mean, you could probably Google it right now, and there'd be hundreds in the U.S. that just happened during turkey season.
Right. Yeah. No. Well, you are way more people, so that does not help with the whole thing. But I think generally we have a pretty good record. I think there was one fatal accident last year in Germany, but just one, and that was kind of like who knows whatever happened there. There's more in France, but then again, I can see the correlation that in France you have the way to become a hunter is very much easier, to put it that way. And then of course you have a little bit more accidents. I'm not sure if there has been fatal accidents. We do have fatal accidents, but those are mostly because people get gored by deer or by wild boar or something like that. That can happen, but not with guns, or at least not gun related. That's very rare.
I got you.
That's what happens when you leave your guns in the truck and just go with your knife, right?
Yeah, well, might be. Well, I think it's more during the driven hunts where you have what we call the beaters, the people that go with the dogs and stuff like that. They don't have guns, which is also a very good idea. And then if you have something that's wounded in there, of course it's going to attack. That's pretty clear. Also, if people put too much pressure on the animals, that can also happen. Well, they're always animals. They didn't read the book on how to behave.
Right. That's mind-boggling. It's so wheels off over here. I think the biggest deal we've seen lately, or in my country, is the thermal hunters shooting each other.
Oh wow!
Like they'll be lined up on a herd of pigs, and they'll all have ARs, and they'll all, of course, it's pitch black outside, and they'll swing on a pig and shoot their buddy in the shoulder, or I know a guy that got shot in the shoulder last year. Well, point blank range with a 7.62 39 or whatever, and luckily he didn't die. And then There was one over the holidays over here where I don't know the full story, but it was just right here west of my house, and it was family was in town for Thanksgiving, and they went pig hunting, and somebody shot somebody, and it was like you know they're looking through a thermal, swinging on a pig, and not paying attention to their surroundings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, discipline is really important. I told you, we like rules.
we do not like rules here.
Yeah, nobody likes them here.
We are quite the opposite of that.
Oh, that I realized. I'm not saying that one is better than the other one. It's
right.
different.
Well, we have a lot more consequences, or not consequences, a lot more problems
Yeah.
with not following rules. Oh Lord. So I had another question. Is there much archery hunting over there?
It depends on the country again. So every country has different rules. There is a lot of archery hunting. For example, in France, none in Luxembourg. There, it's forbidden. Same for Germany, but in Poland it's allowed. Some of the Scandinavian countries are about to allow it or already have allowed it, like Finland. It really depends a little bit on where you are, but it is way less common than it's here.
Okay.
Also, no muzzle loaders, no crossbows.
Oh Lord, I guess I was just thinking about it when you were talking about the driven tracks and all the stuff, and I was like, I wonder. I've seen a bunch of roe deer hunts on TV and driven hunts and all that stuff, but I've never seen somebody with a bow, so I was just curious.
Yeah, you will find it a lot in France. There, it's very, very common, and they even do driven hunts with bows, which is interesting that it works, but it doesn't work. Yeah, they're still very, very common, and Belgium is about to allow it.
Well, so I got on for you, Marianne. Say you've got. Well, let me ask you about your conditions over there as far as tracking. What's the humidity? Is it more forest type stuff? What's it like for you? Does it depend on the season or what?
Well, I would say like our worst day is still Cecilia's best day.
Yeah.
We do not care about that at all. It is usually rather on the cold side and the humid side. So that is nothing that really worries us. If you go now up higher in the mountains, the snow can be a problem. Snow generally is not a problem, but once you have an ice layer over the snow, that can be a problem.
Yeah.
Snow typically doesn't really pose a problem to the dogs. You might think that if you have a big layer of snow on top of the track, that would be super hard for the dogs, but it seems like it doesn't bother them at all. It actually captures the scent really well.
Right.
Ice is I would say ice and wind are our biggest problems, but we rarely have to deal with humidity issues and things like that. Might be in the high summer, and then we just do it in the afternoon, evening kind of things, or the next morning. We usually do not track at night. That's very uncommon.
At night, you said?
Yeah, no, we don't do that. You have to imagine there's too many people on not too much place ground, so it would be too dangerous. You don't see, especially if you have to dispatch with a rifle. It would be just too dangerous.
Yeah, I don't. If I could do everything during the daylight, I would, but it's just not conducive for early season for us. It's almost like that first 2 weeks for me, if not the whole month of October, it's predominantly a first thing in the morning or after dark. It's just I just assume wait longer, let the deer get sicker, and run it less than try to catch him 4 hours after shot, and get there and the deer's very green and alive, and you end up on a long race and overheat everybody.
Right. We see a change like that in the last, I would say, like 5 years. The things are getting hotter, but still not. You cannot compare it to Texas, for example.
Yeah. So on a deer that you've been called to track, and you feel pretty confident that it's a gut shot type deer, like a liver gut shot, how long will you wait before you drop a dog on that deer?
At least 4 hours. I prefer to go 6 hours, something like that, but at least 4.
Cecilia, how do you feel about that?
It depends on the ranch, if it's low fence or high fence. If it's a heavy populated high fence, I'm still going to go as soon as I can,
Okay.
depending on the weather conditions. If it's a low
If you
fence,
got perfect weather, like it's 70% humidity and it's 50 degrees out.
I mean, I like to be at least 5 hours on a known,
Yeah.
5 or 6 hours on a known gut shot.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm pretty much the same. Obviously different situations pose different problems, but anymore I just assume I have ever gotten outran at the longest I've ever was like at 7 hours. Well, I take that back. Uh, I got outran this year. Now this was extenuating circumstances. We got to the deer track at 22 hours ish after shot, and we jumped the deer at probably 700 yards from the shot site and ran him 700 yards and got him bayed. And I'm
okay.
talking like bayed solid. And I'm like, 22 hours. This deer's, and
Right.
it was shot with a bow on video. I knew exactly what it was. There was no guessing on where the deer was hit. And we got that deer bayed, and where we were at, what was the deal? Can't remember. I did not have my gun. I think it was because we were on state land, and I'm not allowed to carry on some of these lake properties. So like some of these lakes around me are Corps of Engineer or state park stuff, and I'm not allowed to carry on those properties.
Okay.
They will let you dispatch with bow, which is for the dumbest shit on the planet. But they will, and that was a scenario. So we got there. I was getting the hunter in line with his bow, which is another just absolute no for me. And I was going to pull the dog completely off. Like I was toning him to pull him off. And when he drew back to shoot, that deer ran, and I let Huck go. And that deer went 1,000 after that before we lost him and never
Wow.
saw him again.
Wow.
And pretty out of the norm for me and for the dog. Like anything after 8 hours, like I've been blown away at 7 hours before, but I've never been blown away past 8 hours. Like usually, it's your typical, it's still alive, but maybe run 600-800 yards, 1,000 yards pops kind of deal. But for that one to be bathed pretty solid and then break and then we lose him,
Right.
that was a first for me. That's never happened, and I would put money on it that wasn't going to happen. Like I stay pretty true to the 8 hour mark. If I can get there after 8 hours and we get him bayed, like we'll get him. Like I feel real confident with that. But yeah, that was that one weird one that I had this year, and it was the first time in 10 years or whatever it was that I ever had one past 8 hours blow me away.
Yeah, we've got a tracker friend from up north, Al Sherman, and his motto for tracking is never say never, never say always.
Oh gosh,
Very
you are
accurate.
not wrong. The amount of times I see people comment on Facebook, there ain't no way that deer would do that. And I'm like, bullshit. Like that deer, I don't give a shit what the circumstances are. You shot him with a freaking 300 Win Mag. I don't care. Like if they can, they will do it. They're all bets are off with a deer. I mean, any animal for that instance. I mean, it just seems like these deer are pretty damn tough now.
They're super tough.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Marianne, what's the longest track you've ever taken as far as time, like after the shot, and then like how far was the track? If it's 2 tracks or
I do not keep count of these things, but it happens that we do it 2 days later. That can happen.
wow.
It's really rare. That might be
Okay.
really weird circumstances that, for example, the first tracking team said, like, I think there might be some, you could maybe do it, or I jumped him and I backed out. Can you please start again at the beginning? So it can happen that we have 48 hours. So most of our tracking tests are always either 20 or 40 hours, therefore. but that's very rare. Usually it's overnight, and then you're there, because it's so common and so easy for people to call a tracker. So they don't have this jumping over their own shadow to call a tracker, because it's just a normal thing to do. Therefore, you usually don't have these sorts of long tracks. But it can happen, for example, that I track something and I jump it, and my dog gets too hot and it's already too long, and I might call a tracking friend, and they will be like, oh, well, I can come there tomorrow morning. And then they have a track that is, of course, way longer in time-wise. For distance, oh, wow, we sometimes have to track with 2 different teams, depending on the shot. If you have a leg shot or a muzzle shot, something like that, they can go miles. But that's something that's also very known to you, I guess. We don't have high fences, so they will run, and we don't have to take care of property lines, so we can just go.
Okay. That would be a blessing.
It is a blessing and a curse at the same time, trust me.
Yeah. I'm sure there's times where I wanted to quit.
Because we're all stubborn, most trackers are, and then there comes the point where you have to call it, and it's way easier to call it if you can say, like, well, I don't have the right to continue. Whereas you have to say, like, well, I can't. My dog is too tired, I am too tired, or whatever. You always have to make up that decision for yourself, and then see if it was the right one or not. And nothing is more frustrating if somebody calls you 2 days later and said, like, oh, well, we found it, like 200 yards.
Oh, God. That's the worst call ever.
I know.
And it happens every year.
Oh, sure. It happens to everybody. The ones who says it doesn't happen, either they lie or they didn't go on tracks. Yeah.
I got really small country where I'm at. I'm probably 3 or no, I'm further than that. I'm probably 4 or 5 hours east of Cecilia. So my country is not real big, and I might see two or three maybe 5 high fences out of 120 tracks a year. So I don't get to play with those much. But man, I got, if I'm fortunate, we've got 500 acres to run on, which is nothing for most folks. So my deal is not anymore is like I'll wait as long as possible on some of these tracks, to make sure that my race at the end is not going to be too crazy. If I get on 1,000 acres, I'm ecstatic. I feel like I'll go earlier. So it's different for all of us. And like for me, I do mainly archery tracks. I've got several counties by me that are archery only for deer season. So they're closer to towns and stuff, and they've just always been bow only. So if probably 75-80% of my tracks are usually archery. So a little bit different than some folks in Texas.
Yeah, I think I'm about 50-50 archery and rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are mostly rifle, and then some car crashes. That is something we track a lot, is road accidents.
Oh, yeah, I forget who I was talking to. It was, God dang, I think he was in Germany, but he was saying how many times they get called out for like you said, a road accident, and then you have to use a dog to go find that animal too. That's like a legality too?
It can be. It is mostly in Germany, more legal part. We have the right to track the road accidents, but we do not have the obligation to do so.
Okay.
You still do it whenever you're called out, because we have this very strong sense of ethical, behavior around animals. So if you know that something might be in pain, you want to dispatch it. That is something that, we do that. They can be crazy because very often you just have internal bleeding, so you have absolutely no clue what you're dealing with.
Wow.
You cannot trust the people that were driving the car. Sometimes they tell you it's a really big, guinea pig, and it turns out to be a hamster, and it turns out to be a rooster. They have absolutely no idea what they hit, in which direction it ran. You have no blood because it's all internal. So that is very interesting. Also, the size estimations of wild boar can be crazy. I think it's really to be a huge male. You never know. Or the opposite.
Right. Speaking of the pigs, so the way y'all hunted today, is that how y'all find pigs over there?
No, not at all. That would not make a lot of sense. Oh no!
I think I knew the answer. I just had to ask.
No. I think most people would not. Well, most people I talk to, they do not even appreciate that way of hunting. They think it's cruel. It's not a great way. I came to really love it, the dog work behind it.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's nothing you might see a few people do that. But most of it would not even be illegal. Well, it would be very illegal. So you will not find that in Europe.
What would be illegal about it?
Running dogs to chase an animal is usually not legal.
Gotcha.
There is certain exceptions to that. For example, in France, they still use the hounds to run down deer until they're exhausted and then stick them with a spear. But that would be much about it. You have still the foxhounds in England and the UK. But for the rest, no, that would not be legal, and it would be very frowned upon. So most hunters would just really disapprove of it.
Yeah. Oh, there's a bunch of disapproval over here too, but
yeah,
it is what it is.
Mm-hmm. And then I think they have weird ideas of what you're actually going to do, and because they've never participated in it, they have no idea what to expect.
Right, and in my mind, I think it's a knife or whatever is just as ethical as a rifle. I mean, it may be quicker in a lot of things.
Faster.
Faster. Yeah.
I have a very strong German sense of ethical hunting, and I think it's a very great way of hunting. It's very well, like I said, today Cecilia said we caught 3. That was very effective, I would say, within like a very short time, and it was not even planned. Yeah.
Y'all were just taking the dogs for a run. They just so happened to have collars on.
Right. Yeah. We were just getting waters on the ranch. We were on horseback. So it turned into a bit of a rodeo, but it was fun.
That's funny. So how long are you in town for? Did you come in just to hang out with Cecilia, or you got other plans?
Right. That's my only plan. I fly back next Sunday.
That's awesome. Have you been over there to see her, Cecilia?
I did. I went 2 summers ago, and we went hiking in the Alps. And she took me hunting in one of her hunting grounds, and we got to go on a track there that was on a wild boar that was non-recovery, which is always pretty interesting to see at which point you would determine that the boar was not fatally wounded and went to fall the track. So that was really interesting to get to see.
That's cool. We talk to people all over the daggone place, and it's like if I would have started this little journey when I was 20, I would have been all across the planet by now. But now that I'm in my late 30s and got 2 kids and a wife, and it's like I just got to live through other people, because it's just not in my cards for at least for I don't know, the next 15 years.
Yeah, no, I think we have a great deal there. We can travel.
Yeah. I say that, but I still go elk hunting every year, and I get to do those things. But it would be nice just to take off. Like, we talked to a fellow from British Columbia a couple weeks ago, and right now they're in the thick of spring bear season. And I talked to him yesterday, and he sent me some videos, and I'm like, he's like, just come on, man. All you gotta do is get a plane ticket and just come on. And I'm like, I wish it was that easy, brother. I wish it was that easy.
Yep.
Well, cool. Joey, you got any questions for him, buddy?
I mean, you covered most of everything I was interested in, like the humidity, the length of tracks, the time. That's pretty much the same stuff I would ask, I'm just kind of just sitting back listening and just running it out through my head. I just think some of it, like with the tecals running down a deer, I just think it's so funny.
Yeah,
because
I want to see it.
Yeah, like I got on a kick for a long time, for years. I wanted to find a good tecal, and it's really hard to find one here. Now, this has been 20 years ago also, 15 to 20 years ago. So it was hard for me to even find one that I would fit the bill for me. So I never got to own one. That's one of the very few breeds I haven't owned. And I don't know. I keep thinking about it, and I was like, now I want one again. I can just see me coming through there because I'm not a little guy, but I could come through the woods, with a big knife and 4 little teckles, and we could whoop anything, bro. Like, we just get them. Nothing's going to stop us. But first off, they're not going to take us serious.
No.
No,
back home, everybody would take you serious.
Oh, yeah.
We have this saying, the bigger the animal, the smaller the dog.
Yeah.
So the Catahoulas and the terriers for the really big stuff. And you would use the big dogs for the small stuff, like the partridge and the quail and stuff. You use the big dogs.
when I first started using the York Terriers, when I would come to a place, like, nobody had seen them here. This was in the early 2000s. Not many people had even seen or heard of them. And when we would get there, and they were like, they wanted to see these hog dogs. And I would open the box, and out come these little 20, 25 pound dogs. And they were like, what are those? I was like, you just sit back and watch.
Yeah.
And, and I would keep 4 to 6 of them at a time, and we'd run them. And then I got into the Airedales and the Patterdales, and of course just had all different breeds, but I've always liked the smaller dogs. And I think a lot of that holds true even with the wild boar. I can take 1 or 2 smaller dogs. If they'll go in there and bay, it's like a big boar hog doesn't really even take them that serious. He'll just, but now if I put a big cur dog or a bird dog or something like that in his face, he tends to want to break and run more, or he wants to fight more, one of the two. So the little dogs, I like them, so.
I love them. We would be lost without the little dogs. The little dogs in Europe are the number 1 dogs if you want to go wild boar hunting.
Oh, yeah.
With the big dogs, you just cannot get into where they are. Yeah. And the little ones, they get them out. They get them out really good, and they tend not to be hurt that much, because if they attack them, they just fly out like a football.
Yeah, they
go back in.
Everybody used to worry. They were like, man, are those dogs going to get hurt? I was like, to be honest with you, they never get hurt. Like you said, they just get hit. They fly over a little bit and they come right back.
Yeah. I had the least accidents, knock on wood, with the terriers, although they were the most insane on the wild boars.
Yes, without it. I just sent Ricky a hide terrier, and he's going to start trying him out this coming week. He's young, but I've got his brother going really good, and they're really good. They're a little rough. They don't give much mouth on nothing, except they do a lot of teeth, not much barking.
Yeah. Well, that's why they wasn't bred.
Yes. And
it's a crossbreed.
Yeah,
it's not recognized by the JJHB, but the hide terriers are very common, or they started to become more common, and people run them in packs during the driven hunts too.
Yeah. And here they're still very new. There's a couple of guys that have really good stock. Like I said, my friend Josh, he actually went to Germany. He goes every year, and he visits, and he goes and hunts, and he does all the traditional hunts, the driven hunts. He embraces the culture. And, when someone's that serious about it, I have to take them serious. And so I was more than happy to be a part of it. And we have quite a few of the dogs here now. We just had 2 imported, and they are some of the finest animals I've ever seen in my life. And, but they were what I needed. Instead of the York Terrier, instead of 25 pounds, I got 50 pounds, They were,
so they're a bit bigger.
Yeah, they're a bit bigger.
Oh, okay.
But like you said, a lot of the Germans, they breed some really good dogs. They really do. I've been happy. Huh? Do what? I didn't hear.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I said I agree.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think here in the States, the French breeds, they are not very common and known. But if you ever want to look into the French breeds, they have amazing dogs too.
Really?
They have lots of hounds, wonderful dogs. Just so cool. Pretty dogs too, but hardworking dogs.
So what would be the number 1 French breed that you would recommend? Or just give us 2 or 3.
I could not. They have so many hounds. Some of them are really rare. Some of them are more common.
Okay.
You would have to see them from the Saint-Hubert over to, Saint-Hubert is more Belgium, but they have so many bloodhound types and things like that. It's just amazing. Every time I see them, it just amazes me. And they always keep them in packs. It's just wow. Also great pointing dogs. We always think about the German pointing dogs, but they have wonderful pointing breeds too. I really love the French breeds too.
I'm gonna look into them more.
I think the biggest problem is that why you don't have them here is because the Germans speak better English than the French people do.
It's funny. We were putting up a trap to catch some wild boar, and I had a number on my phone, and it was from France, wasn't it? It was a French number, and I was I said, "Now I don't know anybody." I said, "Why would anybody be calling me from France?" You know what I'm saying? I answered the phone, and sure enough, it's 2 guys from France and 2 guys from Germany. And yeah, they were wanting to come over and stay a few days and hunt, and they were wanting to hunt one of our tournaments. And we never got it all put together, but I just thought it was really, really funny, you know, that they called. And like you said, the guy that was originally from France, he couldn't hardly understand. He could understand me better than I could understand him. So I talked with the guy from Germany, and it's like I could talk to him all day long.
Yeah, right.
So
it really depends on the region. Most countries in Europe speak English, some better, some worse, some not. France is such a big country, there's no need for them to speak another language than French.
Okay, I got you. No, I think it's been a really good episode. I'm glad you ladies got on as guests with Ricky. That's been awesome.
Yeah,
that worked out. That was good timing for sure.
Yeah. So what else you got on, and Rick? You got any more questions?
Yeah. So I've been kind of closing off the podcast, and it might be. I hope it's not too hard of a question, but I'll ask each one of you, like, what's like a goal for you in the next year or so with your dogs? Like, do you have anything that you've got set ahead of you that you're trying to achieve?
I'm trying to develop a young dog now, which, you know, it's hard when you
join the club.
One good dog. I've been blessed to have 2 good dogs now, but I've got to get a 3rd one coming on. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to accomplish. She's about to turn a year old, so we'll see this upcoming deer season. She'll be getting hauled and seeing if she's got what it takes.
Is she another out of the same line of dogs?
Yes. So she is actually Turk's daughter out of Gubbins' mother. So it was the closest I could get between crossing Turk and Gubbins.
Right.
And we'll see. She's the wild child. She's got a lot of drive. I've just got to try to harness it for good instead of evil.
You said she's about to turn 1?
Yes.
Did you introduce her to anything this past season?
I was real careful with her. I was real selective on any tracks I put her on, and I put her on tracks that I could use Turk on too. And she bayed a doe here that was gun shot on this ranch, and she helped her dad track an aged gut shot deer, and I'm just kind of taking it easy with her. Taking it slow, and we'll see. I'll push her this fall.
Is there some things about her that you've liked so far, or like any characteristics?
I mean, I started her on some mock tracks when she was young, like just some liver drags when she was 8 weeks old, and she just hit the ground running all over the place. Turk, her dad, is a really, really slow, methodical tracker, and she is the exact opposite of him. She is all over the place, but she has a lot of drive, and she really wants to track. So I'm excited about that.
Awesome. Cool. Marianne, what you got?
I am trying to get a little bit more back into the versatile dogs right now, which I'm having a lot of fun with. Just like having the same dog, putting it one day out to duck hunt, and then the next day out to track, and the next day out on a driven hunt. And I found that to train these dogs is something that I always like to do, but to train and keep them is again a different story, because then you train even harder. And I find so much pleasure in doing that, and I try to develop that a little bit more over the next years. See how that is coming along. I don't know. We'll see.
So the more of a jack of all trades, a master of none.
Yeah, you could say that, but you always have one that is very strong, so they're always great at everything or good at everything, but then they're always very good at one specific thing. So right now I have one drata, and I've never seen a dog track ducks like she does, even the diving ducks and stuff like that. And that is just fascinating to me to see that dog work in the water. Wow. And it's also tracking, but it's just very different. And I could watch her all day long, and we'll see how that goes.
That's cool. I've got a buddy that's got a draw, and he's picking up ducks one day, catching a pig the next, and tracking deer the day after that. It's pretty cool. Like he, like say, he's like, man, it's got this, and this. And I'm like, that's all fine. Like he more or less, we were talking about deer tracking, specifically. And I was like, man, it sounds like you've got the dog that you need, and that is, if you get into a scenario where that dog can't find your deer because it's a a drawn out track or whatever it may be, call me for that. I've got the dog that is specifically for that. But for you to go bird hunting one day and doing all the things, like you've got the perfect dog for that scenario. He's just not going to be specialized on one or the other, but he's really good at all the other, all of them. So it's been pretty cool to see.
That is something I find fascinating about this dog, that they really can switch within like the minute and change that. You never have, as you said, the specialist in for one thing. Although I would say like mine is the one that I have right now. She is really there's not many dogs I know that could outdo her on a duck. Just finding that wounded duck that just started diving and swimming around, they will find them. But she's not the best blood tracker in the world, to be honest. She catches great, so I have another dog tracking, and I would just send her to catch or to bait. Yeah. But that is something that really fascinates me, and I want to dive in a little bit further over the next years. Just have these, do it all dogs. That's pretty cool.
That's a hell of a plan. I can't get my dogs to do one thing, much less three things. So more power to you. Well, cool. Well, I really appreciate having you on. That was perfect. So whenever you said that today, I was like, hell yes, please tell me y'all can go talk tonight. And it worked out. So I really appreciate y'all being on.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having us.
Yeah, that was much fun. Thank you.
Cool. Right. Well, we'll talk soon. Thank y'all.
Okay. Sounds good.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, guys. That wraps up another episode of Don't Run with Lighthounds. We appreciate y'all listening, and y'all stay in touch. Y'all message, send me some text, whatever you need to do on all my Instagram, Facebook, and all the things, guys. We appreciate y'all listening. Have a good night.